Good morning, everybody. Good to see everyone. Glad you got your treats. You're ready to go with the all-staff meeting. Seems like we were just here in December. Time flies, and I know it's been a busy few months for everyone. So got some great stuff to go over today, but good to see everyone. As always, we start out with why we're here, our mission, our vision. Again, we are here to be the best for our employees, our clients, and our community. Each and every day we do that. We commit to it. We work through it and make sure that as a team we are doing that together because we're here, because we are about service. We're hospitality professionals. We like to help people. We like people. I was on the TV last week, which is always my favorite thing to do, and one of the things that the reporter was talking about was, what was it like when during the pandemic there wasn't much going on here, and it wasn't very fun. And now we're in this stage where we have thousands of people here, 2 dance things going on last weekend, and all the other fun that we had in the building, all that activity, all that service that we provide. That's why we're here. That's why we like coming to work, and we do that with our values and making sure that we live those values out each and every day. And it's about relationships, and that's what we talk about not only with our employees, right? The relationships that you have with each other, the relationships that we have with our departments, the relationships that we have with our partners like Kelber and Best and Meet Minneapolis, but also the relationships that we have with our clients. We were just talking that maybe last week was a little bit difficult, and those relationships with those clients are great, and when they're here it's awesome, but they also go away and new clients come in and we have build relationships with them. And so it's a great way for us to continue to always make sure that the relationships part of our business is very important to us. Some promotions, some really cool things that are going on right now as we're ramping back up and getting as many people back into the fray as possible and hiring. You see a lot going on. One of those areas is some great promotions, and so some people that have put their time in. Every day, I always say, every day is your job interview. We do a great job here at MCC of moving people, especially from like a part-time position into full-time positions when they are open. And so these people knew that every day was their job interview and are now full-time and have promotions here at MCC. So congratulations to all of them. I'm not sure, is any one of them on the list here? All right, most of them probably are working this afternoon or tonight. So congratulations to everyone. Some new hires. Also, again, as we're saying, we're ramping back up. We're hiring a lot of people, so congratulations to all those new hires. I do see Rachel is here, so stand up, Rachel, so we all know who Rachel is. Come on, Rachel, stand up. So if you haven't met Rachel, make sure you say hi. And Jonathan is here too. So Jonathan in Business Services. Did I miss anyone? If I missed you, jump up and down. All right. So if you haven't met any of these, please make sure that you say hello and welcome. Anniversaries, a ton of them. So I'm not going to go through everyone's names, but again, love to see all the years of service, both the people that have been here for a long, long time, but also those people that made it through their first year. Congratulations, you made it through your first year. That's the year you probably learned the most in your whole time here. So congratulations to everyone. And again, if you see someone on that list, make sure you say happy anniversary. All right. We talked about human resources, new staff, so we do have a new HR business partner. So if you haven't been introduced to Janaea, please make sure that you stop by Business Services and say hello. But she is not here today, unfortunately, but make sure that you say hello to her in the new Business Services office. The Business Service office is completely full of people now. Isn't that amazing? So if you haven't stopped by Business Services, stop by Business Services. It's great that we have a full complement of people in that office now. I mentioned we're hiring, so if you know great people who like to serve, who like to build relationships, who like to make sure that they're the best, get the word out. We want to make sure that in these hirings we have great people enter into our home and work with us. So please, if you have friends, family, neighbors, whoever, make sure that you're mentioning to them that we have some great opportunities for them. All right, so if you remember back to December, we all took the survey that we have been taking for many, many years. And so now we have the results. And so the one and only Sandra Johnson is here again to present the results to you. Big green button goes forward,
Okay.
and goes back.
Okay, perfect. Good morning. Happy sunny day. It almost makes me feel like spring is on the way, with the exception of the ice rink out of my driveway. So yes, I am here to share with you the Denison survey results. And I'm going to just kind of briefly touch on the circumplex again. You probably recall this from December, which was not that long ago, but the results come back in the form of a circumplex. And the circumplex has 4 quadrants, so you can see each quadrant has a different color to it. And each of these quadrants represent a grouping of subcategories, which are also in those kind of pie areas. I'm not going to talk through each of those, but a couple of things that we know is when an organization has more color, so that to kind of think of it that way, the more color you have, the more consistency you have amongst all of the staff, the more aligned you are. And when we see an organization that has a lot of color in the blue and the red, that tells us that this is a growth-focused organization. When we see a lot of color in the red and yellow, this means that this is an organization that is focused on efficiency and profitability. And green and yellow represents quality and employee satisfaction. So that's sort of some other categories to think about. And then when we have an organization that is strong in the blue and green, that represents innovation and customer service focus. Of course, what we would really like to see is a balance of all of those. So our goal is always to have a full circumplex, and of course, the more color we have, the stronger the alignment. So we can see here an example of a full circumplex, and this is showing a high-performing organization. When you have a little bit of white or a department, if you see some white, it means that there's probably some confusion or some inconsistency within that grouping. And of course, if you are in an area where you see a lot of white, this means that the performance level is probably not as high as it could be, and that's probably due to the fact that there's maybe some confusion and uncertainty within that particular group. So our goal is to try to get to the highest performance area and have the most color. So if you recall from our December survey, I shared with you the 2019 scores, which were actually the best ever here for the convention center. And so that was taken just before COVID hit, and so kind of at the height of really all the exciting things that were going on at the convention center. So I thought it would be fun to pull up that 2019 circumplex and compare that to your actual 2022 results. And this is what we see. So if you think about the idea of wanting to have balance in all of those 4 quadrants and also to have a full color circumplex, you can see that actually the 2022 results were even stronger than 2019, which was your best year ever. So that tells us a lot about the organization. That tells us that during those difficult years, which there was kind of a 3-year gap there, there was a lot going on in the city. A lot of you had to adapt and adjust and wear multiple hats. We kind of talked about that a little bit in December. And during that time frame, you maybe were seeing some friends that got laid off, and maybe you got laid off for a period of time. So this was not an easy time frame. Yet to see the scores come back this high is really, really wonderful. It really says a lot about you, and I applaud that to you. That is saying that you pulled together as a team, you supported each other, and helped to make the convention center the best, even during the not best times. So we also, as you might recall, on the last page of that survey, you were asked to identify what team that you were on. And this is really helpful because we can now look at smaller groups and identify where might we have some work to do, where there's some real consistency, and where might there be some opportunities where there's some uncertainty and inconsistency. So I'm not going to read through all of these. You can kind of see where your group lines up. One question that you might have is that N at the bottom, that equals how many people took that survey from that particular group. And here are some other groups. So you can see there's a couple of teams that have some white, and some teams that have, on this page in particular, that have a full circumflex. So that is really, again, an indication that maybe in your team meetings, you might want to bring forward if there's some things that you want to work on, or some things you're not certain about, things that don't make sense to you. You want to bring that forward to your manager, and your manager will be reaching out to you, and that can kind of help clear some of that uncertainty up. All right, so we have a little bit of detail that I want to show you. So again, I'm bringing back the complete one. So what we just saw previously was it broken down by department and by team. But when you pull it all together, you have a score that's called the composite score. This was the first grid that I showed you, so I just wanted to bring us back to that just to remind you that even though on some teams there might be some work that you have to do, when you put it all together, overall the organization is scoring really high. Award-winning high, by the way. All right, so that information then is taken, and that along with your impact meetings and some of the other surveys that you have taken are used to really help the leadership team put together the strategic plan. So to share that, I'm going to turn it back over to Jeff.
All right, you guys, you're sitting there and just looking at this information. That was pretty cool stuff. I think you should all be giving each other high fives, pats on the backs, fist bumps. Come on, do it. That was awesome. Right? That is us, right? We talk about we want to be the best. That showed us that you guys think that we're doing a pretty good job, that this is a nice place to work. That's pretty amazing stuff. You think about, again, 10 years ago, 12 years ago, all the thoughts and this same information that came up in front of us, it wasn't the same. And, you know, Grant in guest services asks me a lot of questions, and he asked me, he's not here, so I can, I can say that. But he asked me the other day, he said, "Do you like being the executive director? What's that like?" That was a good question, and I thought about it for a minute, and there's some things I don't like about my job, right? I mean, there's some things that all of us don't like about our job. There's some things that when the alarm clock goes off in the morning, we say, "Oh, I got to go to work," right? But there's also some things that when the alarm clock goes off, we get excited about coming to work. And that's what I told him, is I said that the reason that I am the executive director, or I want to be the executive director of the Minneapolis Convention Center, is because I want to work in a place that I'm excited to come to every day. I want to work in a place where I can look around the room and say, this is a cool team, this is a fun group of people to work with. It's not about how many contracts I can sign, or how many things, or how much power I have, or anything like that. I want to be the executive director of this building because of you guys, and because of what you do, and because of what I can see you do every single day. And so that's what I told Grant, and that's what I'm telling you now, and that's part of the reason is because that circumflex is completely colorful. And to me, that says that we are a team that shows up every single day. even in those bad days, even with those bad clients, even with things that aren't going exactly correctly, that we're all here to pull together and we're all here to do our best every single day. So I think it's pretty awesome, and I just appreciate and I thank you for making me excited to come to work every single day and to making my job be great. And I hope that we can do that for each other each and every day to make our jobs great and be excited to come here. So thank you. That was awesome. So how do we continue that? How do we keep that going, right? There's culture and being our best, and there's all of those things, but there's also work to be done. They don't call work vacation, they call work work, right? So there's work to be done, there's effort to be put in, there's reasons why we come to work and things that we need to do. So that is our strategic plan, our impact goals. Remember, we talk about our impact goals. What are we doing every day, every year to make sure that we're constantly moving forward, we're doing the right things, we're putting effort into places where we need to put that effort. So I think you all remember the meetings that we had in November and December, the impact meetings where I came around and we all talked about things, and what did I ask? Where do you want to put your energy in 2023? I also said we're only going to be able to work on probably 3 of those things, right? We can't fix 100 things in 1 year, but we can fix a few things going forward. That's what this plan is really going to show. These are the things we're going to try to work on. These are the things that we're going to try to fix. These are the things that we're going to try to improve. We also use a bunch of different surveys. So the survey that we just took, the My Minneapolis survey that you've taken, all of that information, all of that work that you do to tell us what you think we should be doing here in 2023. We use all of that. We look at our culture and what we want to do, and then we come up with all of these different things, all of these different goals that we are going to be working on in 2023. Some of them you might say, I don't really understand that, or I don't see how that connects with me, and some of them you will see specifically, they may have come out of your mouth at the impact meetings, and you'll see them up here on the screen. So I want to walk through them a little bit and explain them so that you have an understanding of what we'll be doing. So we always talk, we break them into different groups, and you saw those across the top. So things that impact you, things that impact our customers, things that are operational in the building, things that impact money. Money is important. It's not the only thing, but we have to do a good job on our financials. And then the thing that makes us a little different too is that we get to impact our community and making sure that the things that we're doing here at the convention center benefit our community going forward. So, things about our staff. So, first thing is, how do we keep that circumplex completely full of color? How do we do that? And so we'll be working on ways to maintain our culture. In the last newsletter, I talked a little bit, and if you read that, I talked a little bit about how our culture is very, very strong right now, but we also have a lot of new people that are coming into the culture. And so how do we make sure that we take their energy and make our culture better, but also understand that we have a history, we have built up work that a lot of people have done for many, many decades, and make sure that those two cultures and two groups of people continue to push our culture forward. We'll be working on that to make sure that we continue to grow in that area. And then the second thing is the city of Minneapolis is bringing new training to all of our employees across the city. It's anti-racism training. I have gone through the anti-racism training. The city is approaching it as bring the training to leadership first, and then it will come and bring down to the rest of the city of Minneapolis after leadership has gone through it, because leadership needs to be able to understand the training, understand what is being put forward, and then help if you guys have questions. So since I've gone through the training already, Our leadership here at the convention center will go through the training next, and then everybody in the room will get the training after that. I don't know for sure if your training will be in 2023 or 2024 because the city hasn't rolled that out yet, but look for that to come in the coming months and years, but know that the leadership is going through that training first. All right, when we talk about our customer, right, very important of our three things that make us the best. So the first thing is kind of, we talked about, let me start over. In November, we got a group of Meet Minneapolis employees and a group of Convention Center employees together to really talk about what we could do to reimagine MCC. What are the things that we could put our energy in the next year or so to really help us come back from all of the challenges that we've had in the last 3 years. Most of those things centered around what are items that we can put forward that would bring more revenue to the convention center, make sure that we come back very, very healthy. Out of that group, there were three committees that were created. These are committees that were Meet Minneapolis employees and MCC employees, and then they worked on 3 ideas. And what we had is, I don't know if in the last year or so you've heard this term ARPA, but ARPA was a federal program where the federal government was giving money to different local and state governments. Well, the city of Minneapolis got some federal money, and then we were able to get some federal money that would go to Meet Minneapolis to help us really recover. Some of that money then we took for these initiatives that I'm going to explain. And the first one here is reimagining client relationships building. And so this is really thinking about how do we connect better with our clients and how do we help them understand all that this building has to offer. And so Savannah is one of the leads on that grouping, and she's going to help create a program where we invite the clients into the building, and then we show them what the building can actually do for them and teach them all that the building has that could make their event better. It will also help them learn as event professionals, because I think those of you that have worked with our clients over the last year and a half or so know that our clients have struggled too. We have a lot of new people that are into the industry that haven't done a lot of events. There's a lot of clients that don't have as many people working for them as they used to, and so this will help them understand our building in a different way and really transition and make them really understand our building. So that is the first item that we're doing as far as those federal dollars. And then we're also going to be looking, as you know, we get a client survey back after each event, or hopefully after each event if the clients fill that out. And so we're going to be looking at those, talking to clients, and coming up with 2 needs that our clients have identified that they would like us to do or need us to do at the convention center, and then we'll work on implementing those. We don't know what those 2 needs are yet, but we'll come up with those throughout the year. So that is our impact on the customer. And then impact on operations. So this is where a lot of the information that you gave during the impact meetings will come out. And I'm going to pass the microphone around to the different departments so that they can explain what actually each department will be working on. These are, again, those 3 things, usually, sometimes more than 3 things if you're really going after it, but 3 things that you and your department will work on this year in order to improve your operation. So business services is first.
Hello, everybody. I have been out for some time, but I am back. So first and foremost, hello, and there's new faces here, so that's so exciting. Definitely come down and say hi to me in my office. I would love to see everyone. The goals that we are going to be working on in business services, and it was also mentioned earlier that our office is full now, so that is also very exciting for business services. We're going to work on revamping the rewards and recognition. So right now this is not happening at all. We want we want to recognize staff, and we want to do it in a way that's received well by staff. So we're going to be taking a look at that in 2023. Creating staff programs, so this would be really leveraging the peer engagement committee. If anyone's interested in joining the committee or has any ideas, definitely reach out. Implementing the DI local calculator. So this one is kind of about ensuring accuracy in numbers and the tax that's brought into the city. Our admin analyst, Leah, will be handling that one more so, but we'll be doing that in 2023. And then revamping orientation and onboarding. So we have materials currently that we are using, and they're just a little bit stale. We want to update them. And then we also want to update the standards of service training for the new employees that are coming in as well. What'd you say? What cat? I don't even think we're using a cat video. Okay.
I guess we are. And facilities is next.
Okay, facilities has no cat videos, so we deal with stuff that really matters here. Some of the stuff we're dealing with is, remember last year was really hot and we happening, so we are now going to monitor that more closely and evaluate the use of chill water. Also, steam's going to be in there. Kind of dovetails with number 4 there, which is reduce wasted energy. So we don't want to be pumping chilled water or AC into spaces that are bleeding out the back because the doors are open, and vice versa with steam and heat in the wintertime. Number 2 is complete the guest services office remodel. There's a few things in there we got to do, like getting Randy and I, with lack of a carpenter, ended up copying Carl's little brackets so we can get those photos mounted on the wall and a couple other things. So, and then the other thing is transitioning the MCC engineer institutional knowledge. What that means is passing that on to people that are going to be here for a while. A lot of my folks have been here 30 plus years. And when we retire, we need to pass that info on so somebody's life is a little bit easier. Another thing, back in the business service office too, we're going to be building an office there, and that starts March. Could be as early as next Tuesday. Could be next week, so it's sometime in March. So we're tacking on another office, and that's where we'll put Mr. Allison in there. So any questions? Okay, thanks.
All right, I believe that Wayne was here somewhere. Fan club.
Thank you. All right, this one's for Alex. So for event services, the first one we have is we're going to partnership with the production techs and the event coordinators to define video service requirements and MCC capabilities for the benefit of the event and the end user. So what we found is during COVID, the world transitioned to video. Everything became hybrid, and the technology just accelerated. So before COVID, when we had a couple screens and a projector, it was pretty simple. And we found that it's getting more and more complex. People want to do more things, and your Zoom meeting at home is not the same as your Zoom meeting in the convention center. So it's a different criteria. So in the past, we've had things like criteria for a sound operator. Well, we're going to develop a criteria for a video operator, because we found more and more we're scrambling, and we're learning when to say when as far as the complexity and what we're able to do. So we're going to work on establishing that and get the event coordinators on the same page as the production technicians. The second is to purchase relevant production equipment to be competitive in our industry and keep up with trends and standards. We have a capital budget to buy new things. We want to make sure we buy the correct things that people are using, people want to use, and we're going to receive revenue for it. So we're just going to focus a little harder on learning what the industry trends are to get that done with our techs and John Eberline. And the third is to work and collaborate with guest services and the event coordinators to improve the MOD process regarding input, reporting, communication, and coverage. So since we exit out of the pandemic, my department has actually, the event coordinators has turned 50%. So we have a lot of new people on board. And the goal is to forge our relationship with guest services. The MOD process has gone through many transitions. We just want to make sure that people are in a good spot, that we know when the show ends and the person's here at the right time, because things are ever changing in our event world. So just if we can hone and develop that system better, it'll benefit both our staff and the clients.
Alex liked it.
All right, for event operations, our first goal is right-size staffing levels on all shifts. So much like the other departments coming out of the pandemic, we also saw significant numbers leave, well, whether that was through early retirement, going over to another city department that started hiring during that and took some of our part-time folks along with them. So kind of getting those staffing levels back up, but then also making sure that we're getting the right numbers of staff on each shift, and trying to find that nice happy place. We really haven't had a continuous year to really of consistent business to really get a great picture of that. Last year was close, but we did have some pretty high peaks and some pretty low valleys. So if we can get that leveled out a little bit more, we can have a better evaluation of that. But that's the first one. Second one is going to be a coordinated effort between event operations and event services with production techs, and working on how we're communicating, coordinating our labor and time when it comes to room turns. So are we setting stages in coordination with when we're setting the room? How are we making sure that we're doing that so that we're maximizing our time, the production tech's time, and that we're getting it done for the client when they need it done. So that one's going to take a little bit of work on both departments, but hopefully we'll see some good results coming out of that one. And then the last one is a kind of a holistic approach to looking at our throughout the day cleaning process to provide a better experience for our guests. I like to focus on the restrooms, but it's not just the restrooms. But I do always say that there's two things the clients always use in our building. It's our restrooms and our chairs. And we're getting new chairs, and that's great, but almost everybody uses the restrooms. Even those that are just walking through the building use our restrooms. And so how can we make sure we are monitoring that well, following through and following up on repair issues with facilities? We've got some stuff that we had been working on, and I think we can just mix that in with the other stuff that we're going to hopefully come up with throughout the year. That's ours.
Thank you.
All right. Good one, Kurt. Good one. All right, so our items for guest services, I've talked about this in the past, that the experience starts once people fly here or they're in the vehicles driving down. So we're always looking at how we can increase occupancy and revenue in our parking ramps. So we're looking at some different options that we can offer. And one in the marshalling yard, which has been a great success with the online parking where exhibitors can purchase parking in advance. And we're also looking at different things we can do in our parking ramp, the 3rd Avenue parking ramp. The other thing, we're always working with our team, with our command center, is buy-in and trust and addressing challenges that they see on all 3 shifts. They are one of the few departments that are here 24/7. So as you can imagine, there's a lot of moving parts and different things that they experience and see, and most importantly, to keep all of you safe. So we're going to continue focusing on that partnership with them. The third one here, many of you have seen different iterations of our emergency procedure training. So we're trying to create some consistency with that. All of you have city login credentials in the comment where you do your payroll. And also you have online learning in there as well. So we're going to partner with business services with onboarding with that. And also this is a training that you'll see coming out this year. The other things is aesthetics. We got the new portable box offices. We want to improve the look and aesthetics of our ticket taking boxes. We're probably not using them as much because most shows are going to what? Online sales, right? Tickets that you can purchase online. But we still want to improve the look of that as well as our parking ramp signage. Another big thing we're very excited about, We haven't upgraded our video surveillance system since about 2009, 2010. So we're getting an entire new system. We're going to replace all 300 cameras. We're upgrading the camera surveillance software as well. So the command center is really excited about that project. So that'll take off here in about March. And we're just going to partner here and try to find a new location to store our lost and found items. A lot of people leave their iPads, the Yeti cups, and everything else that we store here. So our storage space is pretty small in the new command center location. So we're looking for a new space that's near and close to the command center as we get called from guests, and then we need to go in storage to find that lost and found item. So thank you.
Thank you. There's some claps. So I hope that you heard something that you said or you thought or you came forward with as part of the process. The ideas that come from you are the most important because you are the ones that see what's going on every single day. You're out there. You have things that frustrate you. You see the needs. And so getting your information really does help us so that we can focus on where to put the resources and where to put our energy into making things better. Now, if you said something and it didn't show up there, that doesn't mean that we forgot about it. That doesn't mean that it isn't important. That means that it still is something that we can work on, we can improve. But the focus right now is on these, and we will get back to, and we will try to fix all of the issues as they come forward, but the focus and where we're putting our energy is on these, and we will look every quarter at the all-staff meetings on where we're at. We'll update you on these, but you'll also be working with your different managers and supervisors on what you can do, because it isn't just your managers and supervisors or me that are going to complete these goals. It's actually you who will need to be a part of this and will need to help us all create opportunities to fix or improve these goal areas. So thank you in advance for all your work. And yeah, that does mean you should still tell things to us so that we can keep working on that. The next item is our sustainability plan, and so as you know, sustainability is a huge component of what we do to make sure that we're the best, and we've got a few tweaks. Jen Johnson did a presentation on this in December, and Jen and Dan Dreyer are actually leading up a sustainability group that is working on a lot of the different sustainability ideas and partnerships and tasks that we're going to do. But we're going to have Mark talk about them a little bit because they're both not here.
Yeah, and I think we all know that a great sustainability initiative involves everyone in the organization, and really coming out of one of our best years from a participation standpoint, really remarkable activity. If you think about when we had the Unify Food event, following that event we gathered 8 tons worth of food to be donated. And we couldn't have done that without really participation from a lot of those that had volunteered to help us gather the food the day that show was moving out, as well as the following day. So really taking on some of those successful things and really kind of pulling them forward. Continuing to work on that level of participation throughout the organization really makes us feel super good. And really, one thing that we've always wanted to develop stronger is really the community partner donation program. And that is having a list of charities that can take things that are left over. A lot of events leave valuables behind. We want to make sure that everyone in the organization understands that those things that are left behind, we're going to try and get those into the right hands rather than the trash. Obviously, we need to get them off the floor because something's coming in right away, but want to work together, I think, to try and do the right thing. So continuing to develop that is really important to us. And then coming right off of Lane's facility push to really evaluate the energy use, we all need to help with this piece. And, pulling forward, and this is something that we've had in the past, and that is to reinforce the lights off and doors closed culture. Because we do have a lot of move-in activity times where we're not necessarily conditioning rooms. For example, we're not cooling the halls all the time during the summertime, and we're not, obviously keeping them tempered when, we're in the move-out conditions. So, the lobby doors have to be then shut so that we can maintain that energy loss, as well as, working together to make sure that we don't leave doors open when they shouldn't be. There are times when they can be left open, but not necessarily all the time. But working through and having the conversations about the why, or even, working with our sales group so that when before they start their sales tour, they understand why all the lights might not be on, why the temperature might not necessarily be cool today, so that we're not necessarily over-delivering in times when we don't have to. But keeping in mind also at the same time, we want to make sure that the lights are on when we're working in an area. It's okay to call and have the lights turned on when we're working in a space. But we want to reinforce the idea that we're gonna call to have the lights turned off when we're done. Those kinds of activities I think we can continue to increase. And number 3, really super proud about the participation, the green team activity, and to really kind of pull that forward and keep up the enthusiasm and everything that we built this year. So excited about that.
Thank you. Financials, I know sometimes that isn't as fun. Some of us think it's fun. But we also are coming up with financial goals for each of the different departments too. And so you'll see on here, one of the things that business services is going to work on is really looking at absenteeism, looking at do we have the right amount of people working at the right time? How does that affect our organization? Where do we need hiring help? Where do we need maybe some training help? And so they'll be working on that. Facilities, as you've been talking about, one of the biggest bills that you probably get in the mail is your utility bill for where you live. Same thing here. That's one of the biggest bills that we get each month is our utility bill. And so making sure that we're monitoring it, we're watching it, and we're trying to understand what we can do to make it go down. Event services, looking to increase the amount of branding and sponsorship that we do and the money that we get for it. We've had some great results. You can see a lot of events now are using our video signage, are putting up the little stickers on the escalators. All of those things they're paying for. And so that helps, and we're wanting to make sure that we keep track of that and see how we can improve that. Event operations, it's all about the people, right? And in many ways, but it's also about efficiency. How do we make sure the right people are in the right place at the right time to get the work done efficiently and at the right time? And so that is the goal there. And then guest services, our parking revenue, how can we make sure that we can use the 3rd Avenue ramp and the marshalling yard in the best way so that we can get more revenue out of those spaces and use them efficiently going forward? So that all brings into how we get more money, how we do things more efficiently, how do we save more money, how do we make sure that we're using our resources responsibly, which is one of our goals as the convention center. We've talked about our subsidy before, so again, the amount of money that we make every year out of all of the events and all of the things that we do isn't as much as the amount we spend. So that is what we call our subsidy, the difference between how much we spend and how much we make. And the way that we fill that gap is that we get tax revenue from all of the people that we bring into Minneapolis. And that tax revenue fills the gap. The gap is $8 million. We want to make sure that we stay below that, or we get that number to as small a number as we possibly can get. Now, this was an area that I said, we should probably push this a little bit. We've had $8 million up there for a few years, as we've always had this goal, but and we've gotten better in the 2018, 2019, that was in the $6 million range. But we also know that we haven't fully recovered yet, and we don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. I think we all feel very positive about where our business is going and where things are going, but we're being a little conservative here, but look for that in the future. We're gonna squeeze that. We're gonna continue to squeeze that, and that's why a lot of the goals that you're even hearing about are how we can save more money and how we can increase our revenue, because we want to make sure that that $8 million number is as small as it possibly can be. And then our revenue figures. So this is the number, that's the amount of money that we will bring in by all of our rentals, all of our things that we rent, all of those different revenue sources that come in. We have a top high goal of $16.9 million, if you remember back, as we talked about in 2019, 2020, 2018. Those numbers were more in the $20 million range. And so, again, we're still coming back, we're still growing, we're still getting back to where we were, but it's still a strong number. You know, we were not quite this high last year, and even the years before, we were down to like in the $6 million range. So we've come a long way. We've got some ways to go, but really positive signs for 2023. And I can tell you that the first few events of the year here, our revenues are probably in the 20%, 25% higher range than last year when we start to look at it. So that's all positive. When we look at, you know, we get to see how much money Kelber has sold and how much food Kelber has sold each weekend. We get those reports, and they've been about 20% higher, 25% higher than last year. So that's good. That's really, really good news and positive because, as you know, the first quarter of the year is usually the time frame that we make the most money because of our big public shows and the amount of people that are coming to the convention center. That's the direct money that we get into our budget. And then as we get to do the fun stuff and really make sure that we're making that great impact on our community, we're doing a few things. First is, if you remember back to when I did the presentation on our ideas for the future, on what we would do to add to and expand our building and change the front of our building, that project. I'm still working at that through the political fun that we get to do. And so the goal is that in 2023, we are approved to go ahead and start the design phase of this project. And we have the money in hand and all of the city council approvals that we need in order to make that happen. We're on our way. We're taking those steps. It takes a long time, but I feel really, really good about the projects and really, really good about the support. And so I'm hoping and targeting kind of summertime to be the time that we would get that final approval and start to move forward. So that could mean that, you know, late 24 into 25, we're starting a major construction project in the building. So that is super exciting, and we're working on that. And then, again, we always try to have some money set aside for our community events, those events that potentially couldn't afford to be in a world-class, #1 best facility. And so we have some money set aside to help those events so that they can have their time in here, and we spend up to $50,000 to do that. And then I talked a little bit about that funny word ARPA, or the federal funding that came into these 3 different committees that we put forward. So this is the second committee that Tony Pucci has been our real leader representative on. But this is really looking at how to bring the experience of Minneapolis into the convention center to get our attendees excited. And so they're working with Meet Minneapolis, the convention center, and Kelber Catering to come up with some programs that our attendees could have while they're in the building. We would probably do them up in the craft bar and lounge, but one idea is to do like a food tasting with the honey that we produce out on the plaza. We also would bring in partners from around Minneapolis. So sometimes when you come to a convention here at the convention center, you're only here for 3 days, it's really, really busy, and you don't get a chance to explore the rest of the city. And so we would bring in people like, there's a distillery called Du Nord. It's the only black-owned distillery in America. We would have that owner of Du Nord come in, and maybe they would do a testing with some of their liquor, and maybe there'd be some food pairings, and they would tell their story. We could also bring in different breweries that are from around Minneapolis, and they could do beer tastings and food tastings. There's also cultural districts across Minneapolis, different areas than just downtown that people can go out and visit. We would bring in some people, some groups or businesses from those cultural districts, and they would be able to have an experience for the attendees while they're here. There's also been, we have a lot of James Beard award-winning restaurants and chefs in Minneapolis, and so bringing in those chefs, and they could do a special food tasting for people so that they can get a chance to experience Minneapolis. Maybe it makes them want to come back if in a different time, or it makes them say, hey, I've got an extra 5 hours, I'm going to now go out and explore Minneapolis in a different way. And so that group is using some of that federal funds to put that program together, and then we will hopefully be rolling that out in the coming months, and you'll see that happen most likely in the Craft Bar and Lounge. So those are all of our impact goals for 2023. A lot of work, right? It's sometimes hard to go through it all, and some of you don't listen to this kind of stuff every day and don't listen to how goals get set every day, but this is important work. It's important for us to get back into a normal way of moving forward and making things better, and just excited for 2023, excited for all of your efforts into making these goals happen. And again, we'll look at them quarterly and see where they're at. So that was a lot of information, maybe a little dry, sorry about that. But any questions based on the impact goals first, and then maybe we can go into other questions if you have them. Any questions on the impact goals, things that I went too fast on or too slow on, things that weren't clear? You saw yourself in there a little bit, hopefully. All right. Any other just questions that you've been burning to ask? Things that are going on? Kurt?
I just wanted to mention we have 2 new employees that didn't get on the slide that are here this morning.
Okay.
Dylan Thompson and Eric Bull.
Dylan and Eric, stand up. Charles, you're not new. Welcome. Thank you for working here and coming here and giving your energy. Appreciate that. And I'm sure we're going to show you a lot of fun stuff here in the next year as you get to see what it's like to work at the convention center and all the different events that we have throughout the year. Any other questions? All right. Did I miss anything? Sounds good. Have a great day. Thank you.